as
Mr.
well.
Walker will give us our opening cue, and we shall begin with Wave Your Grades.
Okay, I'm putting my thing on my head.
Good afternoon, and welcome once again to Wave Your Grades, coming to you weekly from 1 until 2 p.m. here at KUAW.org. KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom, emanating from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center in Kansas City, Missouri, produced, engineered, founded, facilitated by Mr. Louis George Walker. My name is Carl Boyd. I'm your host, and every first Saturday of the month, albeit we were off track a little bit during the pandemic, but I can depend upon Attorney Reverend Dr. Bishop Valencia Broadus for bringing us young people every first Saturday. And that will be the nature of today's program. Valencia, attorney, before I turn it over to you, let me explain to those who might be viewing for the first time the nature of our program. It is called Wave Your Grades. Wave Your Grades comes from waving the flag, and there are those who feel that they are honoring veterans and active duty personnel by waving the flag. I have suggested to young people who are in school, go beyond that. Wave your grades, wave your community service, wave your leadership, wave your participation in extracurricular activities. So wave your grades, helping our service personnel to understand that they do not serve in vain. Therefore, the program Wave Your Grades generally features students and veterans, students reporting to veterans, veterans motivating students. During the pandemic, Mr. Walker and Attorney Broadus will help viewers to understand that we had far fewer student participants than ordinary because schools have had to be, in some cases, virtual, in some cases in person, most cases hybrid. The one entity that has been consistent providing student guests for Wave Your Grades has been the Smart Club and variations therefrom presented to us by Attorney Valencia Broadus. For this afternoon's program, let us now find out what is going on with the young people who are under Attorney Broadus's leadership and the fare to which we will be treated on this afternoon's program. It is Wave Your Grades, and now please, Attorney Valencia Broadus.
Amen. Now, Kansas City, you all heard Mr. Boyd talk about everybody else, but how great he is. So,
Oh,
as you
Lord.
all know, Mr. Carl Boyd is just awesome, magnificent, wonderful,
You are very
and
kind.
always allowing our young people to have a platform. I just want to share Miss Destiny Smith. I'll introduce her a little and introduce herself, but just knowing a little bit more about Generation Rap was that the brain baby child of Mr. Carl Boyd. Hold on, Miss Destiny, do you know Mr. Carl Boyd? Do you know about him?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so therefore, yeah, let me keep going there. So I just want to make sure, like that that you didn't, because everybody knows Mr. Boyd. Um, Generation Rap. Are you familiar with Generation Rap?
No, ma'am.
Radio show. Oh, see, we yep. Now, Miss Destiny, she's from another area. She's come here and she's doing great things. So she'll tell you a little bit more about, her. Generation Rap. It's a radio show young people's been on for how many years, Mr. Boyd? You're on mute. You're on mute, Mr. Boyd. It's okay.
I'm sorry. Actually, it was December 12th, 1987. So this is our 34th year with the Generation Rap on Hot 103 Jams.
Yes. I mentioned that because it's a lot of young people, radio, radio show with Mr. Boyd, and then now with Mr. Nunley, and then other people, radio show people there and all that. That show's been going on for a long time. Youth
Thank you.
produced and led and just everything, and all those students have been doing great things, and it's still going. And but then from there we did Last Mile of the Way. Mr. Boyd, he left for a little bit. He left the state of Missouri. They left us, came on back, and then the Last Mile of the Way allowed us again, our young people, to be a part of that show. And Mr. Boyd has done so many great things to pass the baton. And of course, he had a program where he passed the baton to people. So there's just so many things Mr. Boyd has
Thank
done. And we do want to make sure that we're giving appreciation and gratitude to the people who allow us to, stand on their shoulders, on their platforms, make space for us. And sometimes, you know, we can teach our young people everything in the world. They don't have a place to practice it, then oh well, they just learn stuff that they can't perfect without a place to practice it. So I just want to make sure I say all of that that then will allow me to do a great introduction to Miss Destiny based
and
on
and,
that.
and forgive me for interrupting you, but you just said a profound thank you. You and I are in agreement that in order for young people to have another opportunity for a voice, that we thank profusely Mr. Louis George Walker and KUAW.org, not just for the opportunity to be on air, but because of the credibility it lends to technological development, to young people being involved in the Black Family Technology Awareness Association, and an affiliation with the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. We certainly, Valencia brought us, and I thank Mr. Louis George Walker.
Triple times 1,000 kudos to you too, Mr. Walker. Lots and lots and lots. So I'll do a brief introduction. The reason I think I wanted Miss Destiny to kind of come on and hang out with us, kind of see what's happening here. And um, I recently met her in person, but we had talked a little bit via text and we'll email a little bit. But she knows a person that I know extremely well, and so through a connection, I'm just being able to pour just love on her, as much as she allows us to. And when I learned that she's an author, and she'll tell you more about that. She does poetry, and she'll tell you more about that. She is a resource navigator for the Kansas City Library. Does that mean that the whole entity? And she'll tell you more about that. And one of the main things she wants to do more public speaking. And so I was sharing with her that I do different things, and it can help a little. And so we talked about some things because associations or whatever. So as I was getting ready for the radio show this morning, I'm like, hey, you're gonna be on the radio with me and you'll get to speak. And people all over the world are watching us, which is interesting because of what Mr. Boyd, his veterans connection, and veterans all over the world, that maybe served in the United States, but they're all over, and they work with us, talk with us. Of course, Mr. Boyd and this connection. So you, as much as you can, a platform to speak and to share, and of course to learn, to absorb all that stuff. And I was most fascinated with Miss Destiny's assisting the Kansas City, Missouri Public Library system in how she's able to, as a Vista. So I'll say that as well. And again, she'll tell you more, about that. But she's got her finger on the pulse of just resources and stuff to help our community grow. And she's a young leader. And so we talked about, of course, accomplishments and leadership, and she's a student and all of that. Again, I've been introduced to someone who embodies that. And we're going to do all we can to just make her even stronger and polish her up more. and do all of that. So with that, I'm going to stop talking for a second. Mr. Boyd probably has 15 questions for you.
No, I just have one thing. I promise.
Okay.
And Destiny Smith, forgive me for all of these interruptions, and I want to definitely get to you. But Attorney Broader said something that was so important, and I neglected to mention when the program opened. She mentioned Destiny Smith has an affiliation with the Kansas City Public Library. On Thursday, April 1st, I attended the services for Alvin Sykes, who passed away at age 64. And I don't know if Destiny might be mentioning him at all, but at his service, they did mention his formal affiliation with the library. So I just wanted to offer condolences for the family and those affiliated with Mr. Alvin Sykes. And back to Attorney Broadus to introduce Destiny Smith.
Excellent. No, thank you. Miss Destiny, if you will, and we'll kind of, we'll dive. If nothing scripted, as you can see, we just kind of talk. We just talk about what's going on in the world and what's happening in Kansas City. And I'll dive in and out talking about Parliamentarian Month and Financial Literacy Month. We have things going on, our students, but we'll just bring Miss Destiny in and out of our conversation. First, please, by tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of go in and talk about the programs that, when you came to visit BEU, she came to visit us. She got to see my little space. So she's seen us here, and we appreciate you wanting to do some stuff with us. So I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay. Hello, I'm Destiny Smith. I am originally from Wentzville, Missouri. It's about 45 minutes outside of St. Louis. Small country town back then, but huge now. It's no longer a small country town. I am the community engagement liaison for all 10 public library locations, from Central Libraries, the main location, all the way to our Sugar Creek and Trails West locations. I do the pamphlets for all 10 branches, resource pamphlets. I reach out to different nonprofits in the community to see how we can help advertise their services and assist them with their application processes. We work with Bishop Sullivan, all the way from Shelter KC, Restart, just to be able to get assistance for any and everybody. Patrons experiencing homelessness. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we've helped so many people with rental assistance, mortgages, internet, just you name it. I was out there calling, trying to find that assistance to help people. I'm an AmeriCorps Vista, and my service year is coming up in August. I definitely enjoy everything that I do. During the process, I'm going to skip back a couple years ago. I released my first book called The Rose That Persevered. It's on Amazon. It's my life story. I started documenting when I was 7 years old of a lot of the abuse and neglect and things that I was feeling. And I finished it when I was 23. I felt like that was enough of everything that I experienced tumultuous in my childhood. And I started writing when I was actually 5 years old. I understood the knowledge of writing more than I did reading, because it was a passion of mine, because I learned how to express myself through writing. I learned that my voice was, more, it was more understood, more relate to other people older than me, like that was working with me to, know what's going on in me. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence with my older brother, all the way from just not growing up in a household with a mother and a father. I had an abusive grandmother. I had a lot of abusive people in my life. I grew up like feeling no security. And even though I didn't have security, love, all of those things that we should have as human beings, and even being in a Black community, I realized I had a lot of people turn away from me. That was my skin color. And I dealt with that and I internalized it. And that became one of my biggest faults, is turning away from people that look like me, because they turned away from me. So as an adult, I'm unpacking that baggage and actually learning that it's not my skin color I had a problem with. It was those people that saw something in me, the hurt and the pain that I had was going on. They didn't want to deal with it, that themselves, the things that they were going through. A lot of people identify themselves in other individuals, and they just try to make it be like you're the problem, and push you away. And I had to realize that I'm 27 now. Just my birthday's next week, so I'll be 28. And I had to realize that a lot of stuff is not about me. My journey, it was about me, but the people that I came in contact with, it was never about me. It was about what I could get from them and be able to continue to move on in life. Because I didn't have that. I didn't have a connection until I met the mutual person we have in common. Me and Miss Broadus and I is my mom. Her name's Roshana Freeman. She took me in about 5 years ago and loved me, mothered me. She definitely is like a diamond in the rough, buffed me up and helped me be who I am today.
We are not surprised.
She helped me see myself, and it wasn't like so many people during my journey, and a lot of people do this now and realize that to young people is they try to have this mindset where I'm going to help them by changing them the way I want to, instead of seeing in them what's great and allowing and just loving them and being there while they unpack that baggage and they understand the healing process, and you'll see them evolve. And a lot of people don't understand that we evolve, we don't change. Change, you can go back. Evolve, that means we move forward. So
I'm going to stop you there for a second to tell us. No, you're awesome. Tell us a little bit about you're at Park University, and tell us what you're studying, because I think as you speak, I want to make sure we're seeing what you're doing.
So I was started at Park University. That's crazy situation is. I was homeless in St. Louis. I made myself homeless to escape the abuse I was dealing with my grandmother in St. Louis. My senior year of school, of high school. I graduated on time with honors. And then I came up here to Kansas City. I got accepted at Park University. So I traveled up here homeless, got here, and I dealt with so much heartache. So I'm not currently at Park University, but Park University is where I started at getting my degree. And I ended up becoming homeless again in Kansas City and not knowing anybody. So I went from being homeless in 2015 to 2017 to being stable and getting my own place and learning the process of bills and everything. So my major there was law. I changed it. And then journalism. And then I realized that right now my biggest passion is criminal psychology. And that is because I had my biggest challenge of everything that I went through. And I'm totally honest, what that is that when I saw that I no longer wanted to see my life as as something that, I wanted to take, even though I went through all of that, because as a young person, we go through so much. And when we don't have that solid foundation, we tend to turn on ourselves, or we tend to turn on others. I mean, as in we start losing our sense of, control. And I realized out of everything I was going through with my grandmother and the threats that she had me in my mindset, I was just like, you know what? It's going to be her or me. And I had to remove myself completely and find myself in that process, if that makes sense. From wanting to, my grandmother's going to kill me, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, okay, now it's her. And I realized I'm not that person. I don't have that in me. Even though I don't know what love is, I had so much love in me. I just didn't know how to use that love or how to get in touch with that love. So,
question for you. No, thank you. Because as we think about our so many young people that are not just our young people that are dying, but a lot of other young people of color that are doing the hurting and the killing. I think of the criminal psychology piece of what you're sharing. So many young people, they're going through so much pain. Like you said, they turn on themselves and they act out with anger. And there's so much there. When you think of criminal psychology, do you see you're studying there, or what other people are doing out here, ways that we need to be helping a little bit more of helping our young leaders to not, well, basically, how, based on what you're sharing, what do you see? What do you
Mm.
tell us? How do we stop so much of this violent crime among young people?
Um, I think the
Or
big
try to stop, you know? Yeah.
okay. So I think the biggest approach with young people is that a lot of times that title with young people trying to kind of get them like, okay, you know, it's real taking the title away as in addressing them as young people, but also holding them accountable for where they are in life. I think we're not it's not enough people that are in touch with their emotions to understand where they are mentally. And a lot of people are not able to meet you where you are mentally in order to help the development from that young mind to the adult mind. So it's like it's a hindrance there. I think if we're able to help them identify those things they're feeling like I realized that my biggest thing was is that a lot of people said I was angry. They was like, you look angry, but in reality, I was confused because I didn't know how to address happiness, nor did I know how to address someone hugging me and giving me affection. That was foreign to me. So we actually are teaching those things that people are not having knowledge of that are basic, that's common sense to some people, that not to us. Then we're nipping that in the butt to the point where when they get older, they won't have those situations. I think we're going in blinded a lot and not having people that are just there to just love you, not there to fix you. You know, nobody wants to be fixed. They just want someone to just understand them. And with criminal psychology, my approach, I know I was there to the point where I was like, okay, this lady's life over mine. And I can understand a mindset before, okay, I'm about to make a decision. And I also realized that there's so many things that people are robbed of. Like my older brother, he's in prison right now. And we lived the same life with the same abuse. And his life turned to prison. You know, he wanted to steal, he wanted to be angry, he wanted to be abusive and hit people and do all these different things. And that was because he did not want to put himself uh in places where people were going to teach him differently. It's easy to be around people that you're not, you know, that are like you know, that make you feel comfortable than it is to be around people that are wanting to, you know, they're going through the evolving process, you know, going through the butterfly effect, you know what I mean? They're becoming beautiful because it's just like, I got to take work on this side, but on this side, it's comfortable. They treat me right. They hear me. They get me compared to other people where it's just like, okay, they're going to judge me. They're going to try to change me. They're going to do this and that. It's a lot of fear. And if we treat fear with a sense of, you know, no, not controlling it, then we can hit it head on, you know, with helping people in them being, you know, their healing process, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. So I think of when you say, I do, and I often say, you know, let me I'll say young leaders, or but when you say young people, it's because they're maybe and the young leaders that I think about, they're really they feel older, and maybe do they feel like when we say that we're saying they're kids, and so they're offended, or I mean, I'm interested because I know I do that a lot. I say our young leaders, or our young awesome people, or but
Because a lot of people were forced to grow up at a young age. When I was 3 years old, so I'm gonna share this. I was molested from newborn to 3 years old by my mom's father. And I didn't even know. By the time I was the age of 3 years, about 3.5 years old, I was working with 10 specialists. They told me I wasn't going to be able to function in society and do things on my own. I mean, I beat those odds. Look at me. But at 3 years old, I had a weight in the world on my hands. I was not around functional adults, nor anybody that could teach me the right from wrong, besides these people that had degrees to help me. So I had to carry that burden from 3 years old all the way to an adult to be able to, you know, function the way I feel like I should function. So when people call me young, I'm like, well, do you know that I handle stuff just like you? I'm grown too. You know what I mean? And it's and like people think of grown as paying bills and stuff. It's handling situations in a mature way that don't result in harming other people and going to jail or putting, you know, extra stuff on yourself that you don't need, like becoming a mother at a young age, you know, like it's we want to be praised for that. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I didn't go to jail, you know, I went through this. I didn't get pregnant when I know I could have, but I'm doing this.
Mhm. No, that's good because it makes me think about, like you said, meeting people where they are, and that we also the ones that want to be, development people or helping, how do we do a little more to get in the mindset of how do we meet you where you are and not try to fix, like you said, and and all that stuff. Because I know that a big part of the shift that I went through coming here as a young professional, and that's the reason, younger though, meaning younger than Mr. Boyd. So, and I say that, with an all sincerity. So, me being a young professional was great, but probably because of the word professional that was on it, and I knew I was younger. So that's why normally I say young leaders, and normally not young people. But it also is because I went through a process similar to where I went through a lot of, just stuff that then once I earned some credentials and all that, I'm like, I'm a professional. But because I wanted the mentorship and started to understand the hierarchy of the older professionals, the seasoned, and I'm a younger one and mentor me. And so being in those groups allowed me to then be picked to be mentored by the older professionals. But I think wording is important. When you say that, my pastor always speaks about we live and die, and can be hung by the tongue. So how do we learn language based off of who culturally or socioeconomically or whatever? And no, that's why I'm asking. And we'll talk about that more because as summer's coming in, I do think about we all of us want to do a little bit more to meet our young leaders that will allow us to meet them where they are, do some things, because summer is often a very deadly time for our young people. And um, so um, I'll share because I don't think I've told you this, Miss Destiny. My grandson was murdered August 1st last year, and so it was that summer stuff. Young people. He was doing what he's supposed to be doing. But other young people had stuff going on, and so they needed the help you're talking about, but no one was reaching them. And so, no matter what, they're young people too, no matter what they did, and they need help. So that's really why I'm asking, or young, young leaders, young people, younger than me. So how do we help? So I'm gonna change our trajectory for a minute to talk a little bit more about the mentoring side. And when and then here, Mr. Boyd, do you need to take a break or anything to do advertisement, anything like that?
Let me just do
Yep.
a very brief station break. This is Wave Your Grades, coming to you every Saturday from 1 until 2 p.m. on KUAW.org, emanating from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. The voices that you are hearing are Attorney Valencia Broadus and uh, Ms. or Dr. Destiny Smith. My name is Carl Boyd, your weekly host, and Valencia Broadus is leading us in a conversation on young leadership. Let us go now back to Attorney Valencia Broadus.
Isn't he great? He's your public speaking coach right there. He's amazing. And so I think about, we've got a couple of projects that we're doing. I'll talk about those just briefly, and then but through it, go back into kind of what we're sharing. We have been doing our Smart Career Club for 21 years now, and through that, we do reading, writing, critical thinking, math, public speaking, college and career coaching. We do all this stuff, and we're meeting the young leaders where they are and their families, because sometimes it's the young leaders can come from very dysfunctional situations, but also they're coming from really middle class situations to where, because they aren't technically dysfunctional economically, they can't get other resources. So they're like, well, we don't have anywhere to send our kids, even though we make middle class. So those kids often were still left out. So we work with all kids, no matter what, but we do focus on African American youth. We have had some Hispanic youth, stuff like that. But we meet them where they are, and then we do interest-based, project-based mentoring. Whatever the young people want to be, we just try to make sure we help them figure it out, whatever they want to be, and then through that we mentor that way, and we help them to just whatever they want to be, the steps, coaching them through, being there, supporting, all that good stuff. So what we've done this past 2 years in that, we focused heavily on financial literacy. So we had our first competition in 2020, and it was great, and we learned all this stuff, and they won money and all that. So we're doing our second competition this year, and this happens to be financial literacy month. And I won't go deep into it, but I just want to just share we're doing working on that. We've got a team of young people that are basically going to be going out, and they'll be all the ones from last year. They'll be mentoring high school and middle school youth in another financial literacy competition, so we can spread it more. And it's quite exciting. And we've got different mentors. And then we have our parliamentary procedure competition, and that's what our and parliamentary law month is this month. And the reason I just want to even bring that up, because as we probably have been watching the US Senate and all the different, they've been doing the reconciliation bills and all this stuff. And the parliamentarian has a final decision. And we were like, what is going on? Because even though we were learning about parliamentary procedure and all of that, we didn't really know a big person that is a parliamentarian and the impact they can make. Because remember, they were trying to get that the uh, the stimulus recovery package, and they basically said it depended on what that parliamentarian, that lady said. We didn't even never heard her name, and so she had kind of the final say in that. And so we started researching her and just showing how powerful she is based on her knowing all this stuff, and that she could change the Senate and make them take stuff out of bills. And we're like, well, who is she again? So that's been exciting for our students to learn. Anyway, so it's Parliamentary Law Month this month. So we have a group of students that are also doing a competition in front of the Missouri Association of Parliamentarians at 2:30 today via Zoom. And again, they'll be able to win scholarships and stuff like that. So we just try to do things to help us to read, write, critical think, and speak, be whatever we want to be, with lots of mentorship around us, and compete, 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 so that we can have excellence. And I mentioned it that way. So that's how I got in what we're doing a little bit. But then also, I think about that mentoring side of it. For all of our competitions, we have all these other mentors in the community, meaning a lot older professionals that mentor them. And that way they have people like you have Miss Rashana, I have like Mr. Nunley, Mr. Boyd, others who are my Mr. Evans, who are my mentors, who, as things are happening, I'm able to kind of ask them something, or how am I doing this, or what's happening. Because what we have found is that mentoring, but real mentoring connectivity, not just like going for a hamburger, but really someone who's going to really tell me right, wrong, share resources, share connections, all that stuff. And what if more and more and more young people, younger people, younger leaders had that, going on with them, and I'm just kind of chatting and talking, but it makes me think about, it sounds like when you say, Miss Destiny, we have to meet young leaders where they are and figure out really what they need and be more compassionate. And you know there's something more, and I'm really interested for you to you know tell us what we might be missing. And again, not that we're wrong, it's not, we won't take it that way, because we want to know so we can grow and help. I'm done talking.
Definitely. I what I noticed, like, as my journey has gone on, I've met so many people. I've so many people that leaving behind seemed so hard, but I knew I needed to move forward. And these were people that didn't have what I had in me. Like, I'm 27, I don't have kids, don't have a criminal background, clean. I always have therapists, and my therapist always is shocked. Like, hey, you went through so much, but yet you didn't become, you already a statistic, but you didn't fall into the other statistics that says at 27, you're supposed to do this and that. And I had some people that I guess you could say were kind of like mentors, but again, a lot of them fell short. But what also I realized is that I had always felt insecure when I saw people like that were successful. And I was like, okay, they're teaching me how to be like them. And that was one of the hardest things. I felt like I needed to be like them. And not until about 2 years ago, I realized that it's not enough people out here teaching people to be like themselves. We're not, it's okay, I'm successful, so your success needs to look like my success, or you just need to be successful because everybody's doing it. And the process is different for everyone. Again, it's just being, if we observe more than we speak to the youth or even older people, there's a lot of older people that have youth like mindsets too. I mean, as in they're still trying to find their way in understanding things. They learn just like, we're learning, and that just really need people to just observe. And then as you observe, you see what they want. If you watch a person for a long amount of time, you'll find out what they really need. And that's exactly what my mom, my godmom, Rashana, that's what she did. She observed me. I had never ever saw that approach in my life, as even as a Black woman. She's Black. As a Black woman, and in my experiences with Black people, my skin color, and she helped me love every aspect of my journey, even with those Black people. I love them because of those experiences that they gave. But she saw me. She saw the greatness that nobody's done, the imperfections. And if we look at those imperfections, when we see a kid out here in his pants are sagging, or he's out here, he has a gun, instead of judging the fact that he a thug, he's out here, he gangbanging, he got this and that, it may be a sense of belonging. A lot of people want to feel like they belong. They want to feel like where they're at, they're secure. And security starts when you're a baby. And when you don't have that security as a baby, even as a toddler, as you grow up, you'll find security in other areas. So we have to be safe havens for those people that come to us, because each person that come to you is looking for that safe haven. They're looking for that sense of security that you're going to give them. They're looking for a recharge. And I told my mom that, Miss Rashana, I said, you are the person I come to when I feel like I need to recharge, when I just, the love, the care and all of that. And then I go out in the world and I can do great things. So we can just be that for people, rather than just like, okay, if you do this, you can be successful, then you can do this great thing. No, if me just being here makes you great, I'm going to just be here so I can know that I'm making you great, if that makes sense.
I'll share just quickly, Mr. Walker. You may know Miss Rashana. She's an engineer, and she was with Nesby and all that for years. So if you don't, we'll have to maybe have her come on one time, because you probably have seen her and know her, just so you'll know who Miss Rashana. She's done great things in the community. So I just want to make sure I'm putting some. She did, yes. Now she actually worked at the city for a little bit. Not under John Wood, but she'd worked for several, I think Black and Veatch, probably way back when I first met her. No, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do, because she was very, very involved with Nesby and all. So, but hopefully she'll come on with us one day too. And I didn't get a chance to text her. I just want to text you, Miss Destiny. But she's wonderful. She's wonderful, and she's has helped us with young leaders. Since I think I started my own practice in 2001. So it was really my law firm back then. So it was really before that, before I started it. So we've been connected, Miss Rashana and I. So I just want to tell you who she is, but as we speak about her, and hopefully she'll come on. And she's done ACT tutoring with us. She's math and science. She's done it all. And so she's great. So, okay. Mr. Boyd, you have a question? Anything? I know you're listening, because
Yes.
this is his area.
Let me take my time Um, and it's not the easiest response. And I was sitting here thinking whether I should say I'm sorry first or thank you first. So I thought the apology should come first uh, from a 79-year-old African American male. The analogy initially will sound peculiar. There's a gentleman whose last name is Chauvin who is on trial for his knee being on someone's neck. Linguists would have us to know that Chauvin is the root word for chauvinistic. And when I talk about apologizing from a 79-year-old male perspective, I'm thinking in terms of how chauvinistic we've been, having our knees on the necks of Black women. The analogy, obviously, for some will seem far-fetched, but in as much as I have encountered the Black male experience, much of my tenure as a professional, from starting to teach on the South Side of Chicago in 1964, has been to engage systemic racism imposed upon someone who looks like me, neglecting to admit to and apologize for my knee being on the necks of someone who looks like Destiny Smith. And when I think about judging others, I will tell you the lesson that she has taught me today that she will teach others so very well, and as she is already doing. I must not be preoccupied so much with the atrocities that have been visited upon me without acknowledging the degree to which I have been a part of neglecting African American females and or having a chauvinistic orientation towards who they are, what they have meant to us, how sacrificial they have been, how so many Black wives have deferred to their husbands because at my age, having grown up in the 40s and 50s, that being what men thought they should be, growing up thinking I was hip and not respecting females in the way that I should have, even as an adult. I appreciate Destiny Smith for this opportunity to say, boy, I am so sorry, but those words are empty without behavior. But at least she also gives me a chance to say thank you, because Brother Walker, Sister Broadus, how many young people who have gone through what she has encountered mention in her testimony at the same moment the word love. She talks about it from a positive perspective that helps young people to realize I might be able to do this too. And therefore, while I apologize for being the imperfect person that I am, she gives the opportunity for me to say thank you, because she puts it in such a positive perspective, and she helps me to repeat a quote I have used often: young people learn more by example than they do by instruction. Therefore, her example speaks so loudly that I am proud today I have met my destiny. and it will help me to be a better person. Uh, okay, thank you. Let's go back to Valencia Brothers.
No, you are wonderful. It's one of the things that I when you mentioned that as Destiny talks to us, that she reminds us that a lot of young people, younger, leaders, that as they hear her story, or just people in general, older people, all of us, but as we hear her story, then we can somewhere in ourselves say, I might be able to do this too. And I think about so often we say, hey, I did it. You can do it too. The reason I'm making this differentiation when you say might be able to do it too, and yes, you can do it too, is because I think it's important that and I'll give this scenario. If someone says, I want to be an astronaut, and we say, yep, you can do whatever you want to do, go on and do it, yep, that's good, without also showing them the way and supporting, and if they need it academically or money to go, or fly, whatever it is, then we're setting them up for failure. And so the only reason, and someone told me that, because I used to share speeches, and I would tell young teenage moms and um, kids coming out of juvenile justice system that I made it, you can too. And so Kiva Gates, she shared with me one time, she was a good mentor to me, and she says, you really shouldn't just tell people, since you did it, they can do it too. You should say to them, and Miss Destiny, you do this. And when you said Mike, you made me think of this. So I'm really saying it a little louder. I made it. I went through some things, and I had some people who helped me, and I learned some things, and I tried to practice hard, or to be mindful. And so because of the way that I did things with love in my heart still and all of that, I made it. And you might be able to make it too, if you get a plan and get and all that. That's the reason I was just thinking about that, because in Destiny, talk with us more, because we don't want to set people up to, to do that, because that's part of your message, I think, as well, meeting people where they are. So thank you, Mr. Boyd, for saying it that way.
Thank you.
I did want to say one thing. I have this quote that I always say, it's better to have a million minds, a million brains on one situation than it is to have 1 million hearts on a situation.
When you mentioned, by the way, Park University, the homeless shelter where I spend my evenings Tuesday through Friday, uh, is a program that is affiliated with Park University. And when I work with the young people in group, the overall title for group with these young people that I use is Please Teach Me You. And I find myself learning so much from people younger than I. Attorney Broadus, we have about a minute and a half. Let me give it back to you.
Oh, thank you. One of the things that we, in general, we'll, when we come back next month and we'll, send information, we will be kind of telling you a little bit more about, of course, how the competitions went, because these are kind of their kickoff competitions where they have to kind of compete to show they're practicing, and then our culminations will happen way down there in August, and we always have events where we have speakers and commentators and all this stuff going on. So we'll be trying to see if Destiny here or there will do some stuff with us, and we want to begin to look at her book a little more, if she'll allow us, and get her out there sharing with these young leaders of how she made it through, because when
Happened
she
way down
mentioned
there in
that
August,
young
and
people are not always
we always have
angry, they're often confused. And I think sometimes we don't think about that, even though they may act mad or angry. It's something different, and the more we can understand that with some help from Miss Destiny and others that she'll help us to talk with, I think we can definitely get more of our younger, leaders to maybe come talk to us. And I don't know what it looks like. I have no idea, but definitely we'll be talking about that more. And Mr. Boyd, I know you did a lot
Yes.
of gang disruption interruption. And so
Hmm.
that's why I wanted to make sure that you met Miss Destiny and we could hear, because
Mr.
we have
Boyd,
work to do this summer.
I know you did a
As our
lot
Please,
of.
numbers are going up.
please don't get away without contact information.
Sorry about that. Hi, Valencia Broadus. We're with the Black Economic Union, a young ambassadors group, and you can reach us at 816-612-1083. And we definitely we're doing a little bit more on our BEU Facebook page, and we'll be sharing a lot of the programs that we're doing. We have a brand new cohort of new businesses that we're going to be coaching through our financial literacy empowerment team, and helping a lot of small businesses to grow and make money and all that. So we got a lot happening. So just look for us, and we'll we'll see y'all soon.
I'm sorry. About 30 seconds for Destiny Smith.
Oh, um, I don't. As I have a Facebook page you could contact me on, or you can go on purplerose.com. That's PERPLEROSE.com. That's where I have bookings set up, or even if you just want to browse around and see what I have going on. Facebook is Purple Rose, the same way it's spelled. Best way to contact me is via Facebook or my email, which is purplerose2012@gmail.com.
Thank you so very, very much. Thank you, Attorney Valencia Broadus. Destiny Smith, produced by Mr. Lewis George Walker. My name is Carl Boyd for Wave Your Grades. Gracious God and wonderful Wanda, I'm on my way home.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Thank you, Destiny. Awesome. Awesome. Yes, we're out. Okay.